I slice through the ribeye without tasting a single bite. The meat bleeds pink across white porcelain. Steam curls upward, dies somewhere near my face. 7 chairs surround me. Empty, accusatory, perfect in their arrangement. The waiter arranged them with such care earlier, his hands trembling slightly as he positioned each one. He believed tonight mattered. The fireplace crackles behind my shoulder. Oak logs split and hiss. Flames throw shadows across the leather booth, across the untouched plates, across the wine glasses catching amber light like trapped lies. My phone buzzes. I ignore it. 59 years old today. 59 candles nobody will see. 59 reasons to sit here alone while the kitchen staff whispers and the hostess avoids eye contact, and the couple 3 tables oversteals glances between their salmon courses. The first excuse arrived at 6:42 this morning. My wife's text message glowed against the bathroom mirror while I shaved, asterisk terrible migraine. Can't make dinner. So sorry, asterisk 3 words too many. The apology gave her away. Our daughter canceled during lunch. Jessica needed her. Some emergency involving a broken engagement and wine. Convenient. Transparent. I finished my sandwich and deleted the voicemail without responding. My son never replied to the invitation. 3 days ago, he promised he'd come. Swore it. Gripped my shoulder in the driveway and said, "Wouldn't miss it, Dad." His hand felt cold even through my jacket. Patrick's message remains unread in my phone. My brother. 37 years of brotherhood, reduced to a blue check mark. He refuses to open. Marcus. 30 years of friendship. Hiking trips through Montana. His daughter's college fund I quietly established. The night I drove 4 hours to bail him out after his divorce. Marcus sent every call straight to voicemail. The waiter approaches again. 3rd time. His shoes squeak against polished hardwood. He stops 6 feet away, shifts his weight, retreats to the kitchen without asking his question. I drain my wine glass. Bordeaux, $200 a bottle. Bitter on my tongue. The kind of bitter you acquire taste for. The kind you learn to appreciate when everything else turns sour first. They coordinated this. Obviously. Clumsily. The timing too perfect. The excuses too flimsy. The silence too complete. Somewhere, probably in a group chat I'll never see, they typed out their little conspiracy. Laughed about it. Celebrated their unified front. I've known for months. The affair. The embezzlement. The group chat where they call me the old fool. Every detail cataloged, photographed, archived. 6 months of evidence gathering. 9 weeks of legal preparation. 72 hours since the ethics committee signed off. The waiter materializes beside my elbow. No squeaking shoes this time. He's learned stealth. Sir, his voice cracks. This arrived for you. A folded note rests on his silver tray. Thick paper, cream-colored, expensive. No envelope. No pretense. I unfold it slowly. 3 words slash across the page in handwriting I'd recognize blind. Check your phone. My fork pauses halfway in my mouth. The steak grows cold. Around me, conversations hum, anniversary celebrations, business deals, first dates full of nervous laughter. Normal people living normal lives. I set down my fork. Wipe my mouth. Reach for my phone. 37 missed calls. 41 text messages. 16 voicemails. The panic has begun. I place the phone face down beside my wine glass. Signal the waiter. Order another bottle. The empty chairs watch me eat dessert. The phone vibrates against the tablecloth. Once. Twice. A desperate rhythm. I let it dance. Wine coats my throat. Smooth, deliberate. The second bottle breathes beside my plate, ruby dark in the candlelight. Around me, the restaurant continues its oblivious symphony. Silverware scrapes porcelain. Ice cubes crack in water glasses. A woman laughs too loudly at a joke I can't hear. My phone screen illuminates. A name surfaces through the glass. Richard Holloway. My father-in-law. Retired corporate attorney. The man who built his reputation dismantling other people's arguments for sport. 68 years old and still sharp enough to get a contract in 3 minutes flat. I count to 10 before picking up the device. His message sprawls across the screen. Asterisk just received notice from the trust legal firm. Call me before you destroy the entire family. Asterisk. No punctuation errors. No autocorrect mistakes. Typed carefully, precisely, the way he drafts every document. Even his panic comes tailored. I remember our fishing trip last September. Dawn breaking over the lake. Mist curling off Blackwater. He cast his line and said without preamble, "You're the only reason this family isn't a scandal." The lure hit the surface with a soft plop. He reeled it in slowly, methodically. Catherine's always had expensive taste. Patrick's worse. Your kids learn from both of them. He never mentioned it again. I place my phone face down. Take another sip. The Bordeaux tastes better now. Sharper, cleaner, like clarity itself is flavor. The screen lights up again. Second message. Asterisk, I warned her not to involve your brother. This was a mistake. Asterisk. Third message arrives before I finish reading the second. Asterisk, please. Let's meet. I'll come to you. Asterisk. The desperation bleeds through. Each word a small surrender. The man who once told me he never apologizes, never explains, never retreats, now begging for an audience. I open my email app. Copy all 3 messages into a new draft. Address it to Miss Drake at the trust firm. Subject line. Documentation. Attempted interference. My fingers move without hesitation. Asterisk, please document these communications as evidence of coordinated response and potential interference with trust proceedings. Time stamps attached. Note the admission of prior knowledge in message to asterisk. Send. The waiter glides past. I catch his attention with 2 fingers raised. He nods, vanishes toward the bar. 37 hours ago, I activated Clause 14C of the Holloway Family Trust, a provision dormant since 1954. Grandfather Everett wrote it during his paranoid phase after the war, convinced his children would tear apart everything he built. He was right, wrong generation, but right instinct. The clause allows removal of secondary beneficiaries upon proof of coordinated familial breach. Legal language of what my family spent 9 months doing, conspiring, stealing, plotting my obsolescence. 9 months I gathered evidence. Photographed bank statements when Catherine left her laptop open. Screenshot group chats from my son's unlocked tablet. Documented withdrawal patterns, cross-referenced dates. Built timelines. 6 weeks I spent with Ms. Drake, preparing the case review. 3 days I waited for the ethics committee's signature. The authorization came through at 2:47 on Tuesday afternoon. I was drinking coffee when Miss Drake called. Her voice remained professionally neutral. Mr. Holloway, the committee has approved your petition. Implementation can proceed at your discretion. I thanked her, hung up, finished my coffee. Now the accounts are frozen. Legal notices dispatched to every involved party. The careful machinery of consequence grinding forward with institutional inevitability. My phone buzzes again. Richard's 4th message, asterisk Thomas. Please, asterisk, 1 word by itself. Separated from the plea like punctuation. The waiter returns with my bourbon. Double, neat, the glass heavy in my palm. I raise it toward the empty chair where my father-in-law usually sits during family dinners. The chair where he'd lean back after dessert, pat his stomach, and declare the evening a success. To mistakes, I murmur, the bourbon burns perfectly. Outside the window, headlights sweep past. The city moves forward, unconcerned with private catastrophes. A couple enters the restaurant, holding hands, faces bright with anniversary joy. The hostess guides them to a corner booth. I watch them settle in, watch him pull out her chair. Watch her smile like the world contains no betrayals. My phone goes dark. Silent now. Waiting. I signal for the check. 6 months ago, I opened my son's tablet by accident. He'd left it on the kitchen counter, screen glowing, unlocked. I reach for my own device. Same black case. Same size. My fingers touch glass and a group chat filled the display. The name stopped me cold. Board directors. Catherine's profile picture at the top, both kids below her. Patrick's face grinning beside Marcus's. 5 people. A quorum. I should have closed it. Should have set it down and walked away. Instead, I scrolled. Asterisk, the old man's losing his edge. Time to move. Asterisk, Patrick, 3 weeks prior. Asterisk, Mom says she can handle the trust lawyers. Asterisk, my daughter, responding with a thumbs up emoji. Asterisk, we split control 5 ways once he's out. Clean, simple. Asterisk, Marcus, my best friend, the man whose daughter calls me Uncle Thomas. I photographed every message. 17 screenshots. Steady hands despite the ice spreading through my chest. The Holloway Family Trust began in 1946. Grandfather Everett returned from Europe with shrapnel in his leg and paranoia in his bones. The Depression had taught him about fragile security. The war taught him about human nature. He built his fortune in steel, then textiles, then real estate. $200 million by the time he drafted the trust documents. More now. Compound interest and careful management transforming modest wealth into dynasty. But Everett trusted no one. The trust paperwork reads like scripture written by a cynic. Moral clauses about family loyalty. Provisions about honesty and coordinated action against primary trustees. Archaic language of a man who'd watched brothers destroy each other over inheritance. I found the first financial discrepancy in April. $3,000 missing from a consulting account. Catherine's signature on the authorization form. Design consultation services. The invoice description. For a woman who'd never designed anything beyond our Christmas card. I said nothing. Started checking older statements instead. $3,000. Every week. For 11 months. Summer 2019, I discovered something else. A tax document in Richard's study. Or rather, the absence of one. I'd gone looking for fishing licenses and found him burning papers in the fireplace. July heat outside, flames roaring inside. What are you doing? I asked. He didn't turn around. You're better off not knowing. Some things need to disappear. The corner of a bank statement curled black in the flames. I caught a glimpse of an account number I didn't recognize. Richard? Drop it, Thomas. His voice carried a weight I'd never heard before. Some things you let go. I let it go. Then, now I understand. He was protecting Catherine. Protecting them all from evidence of a suspicious account. Burning the trail before I could follow it. I began documenting everything. Dates of withdrawals cross-referenced with Catherine's calendar. Screenshots saved to encrypted cloud storage. Photographs of burned document edges. Voice memos recording conversations I knew would matter later. Miss Drake entered my life in October. A colleague mentioned her expertise in trust law. I called her office on a Tuesday, met her Thursday. She wore gray, suit, shoes, briefcase. Even her eyes seemed gray, sharp and assessing. Tell me what you have, she said. I laid out 6 months of evidence across her conference table. Bank statements, screenshots, timeline documentation, the works. She studied everything in silence. 47 minutes passed. Finally, there's a provision. Clause 14C, inactive since 1954. Tell me, she explained. Removal of secondary beneficiaries. Proof of coordinated breach. Ethics committee approval required. How long? I asked. To gather sufficient evidence? You already have it. To process approval? 6 to 8 weeks. Start the paperwork. She smiled, a thin, professional expression devoid of warmth or judgment. Consider it done. The ethics committee reviewed my case for 3 days. 72 hours of deliberation while I attended meetings, ate dinners, smiled at my conspirators across the breakfast table. Catherine kissed my cheek the morning the approval came through. Love you, she said. I kissed her back. You too. Lies taste different when you know they're temporary. Sunday night at 8:02, the automated system executes. 300 interested parties received the same email simultaneously. Trustees, board members, charity affiliates, legal counsel, accountants. Every person with stake or oversight in the Holloway Trust opens their inbox to find official notice. Holloway Trust Management changes. The PDF spans 6 pages. Legal language dense as concrete. Effective immediately. I assume sole primary trusteeship. Catherine, Patrick, both children Marcus, removed from all positions. Clause 14C cited. Supporting documentation attached. 2 charitable foundations suspended pending audit. 3 major initiatives frozen mid-execution. Consulting payments terminated without severance. 3 new independent trustees appointed. None carry the Holloway name. None owe anyone favors. I watch the read receipts populate on my laptop, green check marks appearing one after another. The institutional machinery, digesting my decision, processing it through layers of bureaucracy and influence. My phone remains silent. They haven't reached this part yet. Still scrambling, probably calling each other, trying to understand how the man they underestimated learned to dismantle them. Monday morning arrives cold and precise. By 9:45, 2 sponsorship board members resign. Their letters arrive within minutes of each other. Careful, professional, citing scheduling conflicts and personal obligations. The kind of exit that preserves reputations while abandoning sinking ships. Miss Drake forwards me both resignations without comment. Her email signature contains no pleasantries. Noon brings her rumors. A colleague mentions hearing something at lunch. Whispers about fraud. Internal conflict. The Holloway family imploding behind closed doors. He asks carefully, diplomatically, if everything's acceptable. Perfectly fine. I say, administrative adjustments. He nods. Doesn't believe me. Doesn't press. At 3:15, Gerald Morrison calls. Board member for 12 years. Deep voice, deeper connections. He chaired the committee when Catherine wanted to expand the arts funding. Voted yes after she took him to dinner 3 times. Thomas. No greeting. No preamble. They're blaming you. Calling you vindictive. Unstable. I stand at my office window. 15 floors below. Traffic crawls through intersections. People pursuing ordinary disasters. Let them. I say. Silence stretches between us. Finally. Are you certain about this path? Completely. You understand what you're burning. I understand what they burn first. He exhales slowly. Noted. I'll abstain from public comment. Appreciated. The call ends. I watch clouds drift across glass towers, indifferent to human wreckage. My daughter attempts damage control on social media. I see the post for 17 minutes before she deletes it. A carefully crafted narrative about family betrayal. Father's cruelty, misunderstanding blown out of proportion. The comments filled with sympathy emojis and outrage. Then someone mentions the audit. Questions about expense reports. Consulting fees for non-existent work. The post vanishes like it never existed. Patrick tries giving an interview to the local business journal. A reporter I vaguely recognize calls my office. Asks for comment. I refer her to Miss Drake. By evening, Patrick's interview is canceled. New trust policies prohibit unauthorized statements. Legal consequences clearly outlined. The reporter calls back, frustrated. Is there a story here or not? Administrative changes. I tell her, nothing newsworthy. She doesn't believe me either. By 6 o'clock, the institutional dismantling completes its first phase. Accounts frozen. Access revoked. Security protocols updated. Every door my family used to walk through freely now requires authorization they no longer possess. I receive an email from the primary bank. 47 transactions flagged for review. Would I like to proceed with full forensic audit? I type one word. Yes. Catherine Consulting account appears third on the list. $3,000 weekly for 52 weeks. $156,000 total. Patrick's expense account shows worse. Private flights charged to charitable initiatives. Hotel suites in cities where no foundation business existed. Dinners for 8 people at restaurants I've never heard of. My son's credit card, issued to the Trust for Educational Expenses, funded a sports car last November. The documentation spreads across my screen like evidence at trial. Months of small thefts. Years of assumed immunity. A family convinced I'd never notice, never care, never fight back. I forward everything to Miss Drake with a single instruction: proceed with full recovery. Her response arrives in 30 seconds. Asterisk understood. Litigation team activated. Asterisk. Outside my window, the city lights begin their evening ritual. Office buildings glowing. Street lamps flickering to life. The world continuing forward while mine executes controlled demolition. My coffee grows cold on the desk. I don't bother reheating it. The voicemail arrives at 11:39. I'm reading in my study. Hemingway, old copy. Spine crack from decades of handling. The phone vibrates against mahogany. Catherine's name illuminates the screen. I let it ring through to voicemail. Wait, listen to the silence before pressing play. Her voice trembles through the speaker. Raw, unpolished. Nothing like the controlled tone she uses for board meetings or charity galas. You took everything. A pause. Breathing. The rustle of fabric, like she's pacing. The kids don't know what to do. Patrick's threatening to go to the press. Richard won't stop calling. Another pause. Just tell me what you want. No apology buried in the words. No admission of guilt. Only negotiation. The same voice she'd use haggling at an estate sale. Call me back. Please. We can fix this. The recording continues. Silence stretching. I imagine her standing in our bedroom. Phone pressed her ear, searching for words she never learned to say. Finally, barely audible, I didn't think you could. The voicemail ends. 37 seconds total. I save it. Forward it to Miss Drake with timestamp and transcription. Subject line. Additional documentation. Attempted interference. Then I close Hemingway. Stand. Pull on my navy blazer. The one Catherine bought me for our 20th anniversary. Italian wool. Perfect tailoring. Expensive enough to prove love. The drive across town takes 19 minutes. Streets empty except for taxis and delivery trucks. Traffic lights cycling through colors for no one. The steakhouse appears around the corner. Windows glowing warm against cold November darkness. I park in the same spot as last week. Walk through the same entrance. The host recognizes me immediately. Young man, probably 23. Face collapsing into uncertainty. Mr. Holloway. He fumbles with menus. Welcome back. The same table, I say, if it's available. Relief floods his features. A solvable problem. Of course. Right this way. He leads me past the bar, past the fireplace, past couples sharing dessert and businessmen nursing scotch. The corner booth sits empty. 7 chairs arranged around the table, like sentinels. I slide into my seat. Same position. Same view of the dining room. The waiter appears. Different one this time. Older. Gray at the temples. He's seen enough in this job to remain unfazed. Good evening, sir. Can I start you with something to drink? Bourbon. Double neat. I pause. And I'll have the ribeye. Medium rare. Cream spinach. He writes without commentary. Excellent choice. The dining room hums around me. A birthday celebration 3 tables over. Woman laughing. Surrounded by friends. Cake arriving with candles. Normal joy. Uncomplicated happiness. My bourbon arrives in a heavy crystal glass. I hold it up to the light. Amber liquid catching fire glow. 7 empty chairs witness the gesture. No toast this time. No ironic salute to absent family. Just bourbon warm in my throat. Smooth and deliberate. The steak arrives perfectly cooked. Pink center, charred crust, butter pooling beside asparagus spears. I cut into it slowly. Taste it properly this time. Salt, smoke, richness. The waiter returns. How is everything, sir? I set down my fork. Meet his eyes. Perfect. He nods, withdraws, leaves me to my meal and my silence. The empty chairs no longer accuse. They simply exist. Spaces where people used to sit, now vacant through their own choices. The difference matters. Solitude versus peace. Abandonment versus clarity. 7 empty seats teaching 7 lessons about what remains when everything unnecessary burns away. I finish my steak. Order coffee. Decline dessert. The check arrives on a small leather folder. I add 30% tip Not celebration, not forgiveness. Just payment for service rendered. Outside, the night air bites cold. I walk to my car without hurrying. Behind me, the restaurant continues its evening rhythm. Ahead, my house waits dark and quiet. I drive home slowly. No music, no phone calls. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and my own breathing. The garage door closes behind me with a soft mechanical hum. Inside the house, every light remains off except the one I left burning in the study. Hemingway waits on the side table, bookmark holding my place. I pour another bourbon, settle into the leather chair, open the book. The words read differently now. Clearer, sharper, like I'm finally seeing them through eyes that understand what they're actually saying. My phone stays silent in my pocket. I read until 1 a.m, then closed the book and climbed the stairs to bed. Tomorrow the lawsuits begin. Tomorrow the family fractures further. Tomorrow brings consequences and complications and carefully worded press releases.